That's not a tracer. Right, now hopefully the sat nav don't fall off again. I can't see because of the sun. A nice leisurely ride into town this morning. I've got the morning off and I'm going to street bike in Hales Owen, which is about 30 miles away. See one out yet? Man, this this sat nav is not going very well. So yeah, my bike's due for a service. I did want it done back in January, and amazingly, the guy says don't bring it back until it's at like 19,000 miles, which I thought was really odd, but he said it a number of times. So I waited and waited, and about April, May time is when it was getting to about 19,000. So I rang up Street Bike. I'll go into why I picked Street Bike later, and booked it in. The earliest they could do me was July. Why did I pick Street Bike? That is 30 miles away from my home. Well, they are a Yamaha and Suzuki and Triumph dealer. I think they do Zeros now as well, according to their website. My other nearest one is in Tamworth, so from where I live it's probably about the same distance, if not further, so I'm a bit out of luck there. I've tried local garages and I don't know, they just don't have the same ethic. There's one, I could walk the bike there if I had to. They are just terrible, man. I've fed this back to Lexmoto actually. What was done, I don't know, and I don't profess to care now. They've lost my custom, it's simple as that. I'm now going to spend in excess of like 200-300 pounds somewhere else, and that's the power of good customer service, you know. So the bike I am hoping is available, and they don't have many bikes in the fleet, but I'm hoping there's a tracer available, just on the basis that this is perhaps the big brother of this bike, and if I were to get a new one it might be along a similar vein. This is quite a new route into B-Town. Guy on his phone, not new. God, it's going to take a million years, this is. This is where I'm going to die, folks. This is where... Okay, that's not so bad. So all being well, I might do my first bike, first impression. I'm not sure I'm going to have enough time on it to do a review. And yeah, it's going to be a bit different for me to do that. So the only other big bike I've ridden is the one I did my DAS on, which was a Gladius 650. Which they also have in their courtesy fleet. Dead seagull. There's lots of dead seagulls about at the moment. I thought they were pretty wily, man. This is what I was on about in my other video, man. Birmingham's just full of freaking roadworks. Maybe it's all a ploy. I've got my conspiracy theory hat on. Maybe it's all a ploy. And they put all these cones in to make it look like there's congestion. Fuck, someone's head's just exploded. On the way to Kiddie. For those of you what don't know, any marathons and Great Birmingham runs usually come down this road into town. Yeah. There was some coverage once on Channel 5 and it was really good. I just didn't think they did anything outside of London, you know. Akbar's, oh my god. Akbar's is the best curry place in all of Christendom. Kissingdom? Oh. Street bikes. Here we are, people. Diddy car parking spaces. Well, got here on time apparently. Hey! Wow. That hit the limit real quick in first gear. Okay, so let's see how we can get on in dual carriageway and motorway type speeds. In fifth gear and still quite a lot to give away. On these smaller bikes, I feel if I was to drop a gear, and where normally I'd be forgiving on a bigger bike, it's not as forgiving on these smaller ones. So it's kind of like once you're in top gear, you're going to have to slow just a little bit down again just to start back up. It's got quite the racy sound to it as well. Quite a steady cruising speed, but now the mirrors are starting to get a bit vibey, and I found that whether it's this particular machine or whether it's the bike in general, it is quite vibey. Oh yeah! Woo-wee! That is some sound! You can see why these bikes are so popular. So let's see how it gets on some country lanes. Soundtrack alone is enough to get excited about. It's so weird, and I guess this is like the niche for the 300s, but it just feels and looks and is the same size as 125, but then when you give it an absolute spanking, it does turn into this other beast, man. Go on, give way to the right, sir. It's still got the pop 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 of a 125, but if you wanted to, you could hoon around this on motorways and country lanes and stuff and not really think it's anything else. There's nothing wrong with the speed on this bike, and obviously, yeah, it's not going to perform well against a bigger capacity machine, particularly because that first gear runs out so fast. Yeah, I quite like it. I'm impressed. There's been a few times today where I wanted the brakes to work that little bit better, so yeah, I think that's something they can improve. Well, maybe they can't, but something to be mindful of. It is a Ferrari, a baby blue Ferrari. Oh, these fucking brakes are terrible. Coming out of corners is a joy, particularly when I've got to know the bike a bit better. So I mean, I've only got this for the morning really, and then I've got to get to work, and then probably at the end of the day I'll have to give it back. I thought what I'd do is, you know, now I've had a little bit longer to spend on it, you know, are there any things that I like about the bike, or any things I dislike about the bike? So I'm going to do a top 3 like, dislike, and it'd be interesting that, you know, what are your first impressions of the bike if you've ridden it or if you own it. and do you get used to some of the things that you don't like? So I'll start off with the first thing I like, and the first thing I like about this bike is the styling. And it sounds like an easy win, but I do rate Yamaha styling, and it's all, you know, everyone's going to have their different opinions of things. But I remember going to one of the motorcycle lives at the NEC in Birmingham, and I just wasn't enamoured by Honda's designs. Honda didn't look really mesmerising or standout-ish, and Suzuki was kind of the same. I think it was around their anniversary or something. And I remember getting to the Yamaha stand and thinking, oh my god. And admittedly, that reaction was to the MTs. I'm not really sure if that was like a new sort of bike at that time. It was only a couple of years ago, but certainly it was something that wasn't on my radar. When I came across it, it just looked so evil and transformery, and I don't know, I just felt at the time like that was something I hadn't seen before. The second thing I like about the bike, and I would say I was probably quite surprised, was that it's got a bit of go actually. I was expecting quite a laboured sort of run up to speeds, but certainly I can shoot straight up to sort of dual carriageway speeds at 40, 50, 60 with little or no problems, and that quite surprised me. I know a friend who's got a 300, and I know it can keep up with motorway speeds, but I know he was saying that he did have to like drop a gear to sort of like catch up with the guys that were having like 600 and stuff. So I was kind of expecting it to be not as quick as it was. And I guess really the third thing I like about this bike is how much you can throw it around and how sporty it sounds. So there's a few people around my end who are ragging one of these bikes around, and it sounds obnoxious if I'm honest, but boy can I see why they do it. The sound on it is just, it sounds like your 125, and again I think I've said this before, but it sounds like a 125 and you expect it to be like a 125. It's got the shape and a stance of a 125, but then when you give it the beans, it just becomes this different beast, and there is speed to it. There's a lot more than you would expect. And actually when you get to sort of higher speeds and revs, it sounds so sporty. And so right now it doesn't sound like anything, but you can just sort of twist it and boom, you're off, and it sounds really sporty. I imagine with an extra with a third party cam, that can make it sound real nice. You may upset a few neighbours, but it's going to kind of be worth it. So those were my top three in no particular order. Comment below if you agree with any of those, if you've got your own sort of top three or anything you want to add to it. Pow! Okay, so three things I dislike about the bike, and I don't really like criticising things. I don't think I'm very good at it. I'm maybe not very good at listing things I like about the bike, but anyway, you know, there are going to be things that when you jump onto a bike for the first time that is going to be a bit weird and different and you're not used to, and therefore you think, ooh, I don't like this. So the first one, and I am putting this first in a particular order, the others may or may not follow suit, but I don't know if it's this particular bike or if it's the bike in general, but the brakes are terrible. I had a very close call, and a bit of that may be down to sort of my reaction and stuff, but I've got to believe if I had the brakes on my old bike, I'd have stopped on a dime. And yeah, I just feel that these brakes are a little wanting really. There's been a few times when I haven't had any close calls this last 2 days, and I've just been there like hammering the brakes full tilt, and they're just not stopping. So yeah, I don't know, upgrade those brakes if you can, get some braided lines maybe. I don't really know much about brakes and how to improve them, but certainly I was left unconfident, I think is the word. That's not a word, but that describes how I felt. So the second thing I don't like about this bike, I am finding it a little bit uncomfortable, and again, it might just be this bike and it's set up to be, you know, quite rigid, but oh, I came off it yesterday. There, look, back brake absolutely pedal to the middle, and I still rolled over that line. Yeah, I'm finding it really uncomfortable. I rode it for a couple of hours yesterday, pretty much from street bike to home, took it out for a spin, and then I had to go straight to work. So I was on it for a good couple of hours, and when I got home, I briefly sort of just took off a backpack, and all my fingers were vibrating and fizzy, and not pins and needles, but I can tell there's quite a lot of vibration from this. So it'll be something I would feed back to the dealer, and if it's the bike, it's the bike. You know, I don't think this is going to be good for touring, and it is a sports bike, but you know, if this is what you've picked for and you want to go touring, I don't think you're going to be on it for very long before you have to stop. And so the third and final thing I don't like about this bike, and it's only really a minor thing, but it is these foot pegs. Of all the things to complain about, and so I'm used to sort of rubberized foot pegs, but these appear to be like have teeth in them, and they catch on my boot, and I'm sort of not used to sort of having to release my foot from the peg. Let's have a look. Yeah, they've got teeth on them. So consequently, it means sometimes I miss a gear change, because I thought I've moved my foot, or I've moved it in a normal way that would normally necessitate a gear change. Oh yeah. And so there we have it. I've not had a lot of time with this bike, but these are sort of my first thoughts on things, and I guess over time I'll either get used to them or overcome them. And it might just be that this bike is, you know, it's a demo bike, it's a courtesy bike. It may be that it gets a bit more sort of ragging around than normal, and it's just a bit out of tune at the moment. So I will feed this back to the dealer and let them know that. But yeah, all in all, I think I've been quite happy with tootling about on it. Does need a good clean. I hope I don't have to clean it up before I take it back. Just fill it up with petrol, he said. That's all I gotta do. So guys, I'm going to stop talking. If you're feeling generous, please like, comment, share and subscribe for some more videos. If you've liked anything I've had to say, just drop a comment below. Let me know your top 3 things that you like and dislike about the bike, and I will see you in the next one.